Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. All right, well, we've got a lot of picks for this recap stream, but I don't know about legendary. We go 9 and 10. A shout out to Danny Brasco going 3 out of 4. A-Mags has a perfect finish to his MLB season, going 2 for 2. But overall, 9 and 10, one of the few times the SportsLine picks fail us, but a couple of those were very close, including the Quentin Grimes play that prop bet guy had on Friday night. Joe Neuenfeld says he bashed the like. Well, if you haven't done what Joe Neuenfeld has done, I'm sure you're going to do it right now, because I got to bring in the stars of the show. We've got a great Monday Night Football, but also college basketball show for you, and that's where Berg Bets comes in. We've got him. We've got Mike McClure. We got Larry Hartstein and PropStarz. Mike, I'm going to start with you. The feature game last night was the Bills and the Chiefs. One of the things the Fantasy Football Today guys do, Adam Azer and company, they say, what's the worryometer lever on the Kansas City Chiefs? I can't imagine it's that high. Your reaction to yesterday's game?
Yeah, I wouldn't say the worry level is high. I mean, it's getting to the point where, yes, you've got to go win the games you're supposed to win just to make the postseason. The running game is not there. I think the more exciting thing for Kansas City is I do think they ultimately are going to trade for Breece Hall here, which I think could be a very interesting piece. But I think that they're looking at the way Mahomes is playing. They're looking at the window that they've got. And I do think that the team ultimately will mortgage the future a little bit. So I do think that they will make a move like that. As far as the game, Josh Allen and the Bills, they were prepared for it. They were incredible. Kansas City, like the end of the first half, not getting a touchdown when they moved the length of the field in 20 seconds. That was a key spot. And then just the fact that they elected to kick the Harrison Butker field goal on like 4th and 4, 4th and 5 early in the game, but then immediately after a go for it on 4th and 17 kind of thing. It's one of those situations where against Buffalo, you probably know that you need touchdowns, not field goals. With a guy like Mahomes there, I would like to see them go for it on 4th and 4, 4th and 5 around midfield.
No, the 4th and 17 conversion was kind of amazing, though. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you got to credit the Bills for getting a 53% pressure rate on the Chiefs, hitting Patrick Mahomes 15 times and holding him under 50% completions. I mean, those are things that we've never really seen before. And you have to have some semblance of a running threat with Kareem Hunt. They're not worried about that. So, yeah, if they do make a trade for Breece Hall, that will be quite interesting. But see, I just got to go to your Commanders because Dan Quinn said he never thought about taking Jaden Daniels out of the game. Why not? Why wouldn't you? I mean, the game was over at halftime, and certainly at that point, it was well over, and you have him coming back from an injury. He's the franchise. I just think there's no reason he should have been out there.
Yeah, PropStarz, I know you had something as well. I'll react to that because at halftime, I literally was going to tweet out, you might want to pull Jaden Daniels. And it's not because they were getting blown out as much as it was he was coming off the hamstring injury. If not for that, I don't mind him playing the rest of the way in that one because he does have to establish a rhythm. He hasn't played a ton this season. But again, coming off a soft tissue injury, it being a blowout, I understand where they're coming from, but I would have pulled him as well. PropStarz, I know you had something unrelated.
Just wanted to talk about this Bills offense last season, historical. They were one of the top 10 most efficient offenses in the NFL. That's carried over this season. It's just very impressive watching James Cook. They have an incredibly balanced attack. James Cook is playing tremendous football. Also want to mention the emergence of Dalton Kincaid as well. Really kind of functioning that 1B or 1A option for Josh Allen. So without a ton of top-end talent, at least on paper, this Bills offense just continues to be a well-oiled machine.
Put in the chat what you were most surprised by or encouraged by in Sunday's NFL slate. Bob, I got to ask you, you cover a lot of football, both NFL and college, but you also cover college basketball. Do we have a college basketball treat coming from you today?
Yes. Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me again. And yes, I will have a play today. If you see me looking over, this Queens Winthrop game has been awesome at 8 a.m. to start. There's games 8 a.m. all on YouTube in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I mean, I didn't think this game was going to be this good at 8 a.m., but hey, we're back. It feels good.
Bob, this is an 8 a.m. game like on the East Coast. Like these kids actually woke up at 5 in the morning to play this, or is this in some like random
Rock Hill, South Carolina?
It's unbelievable.
It's great. I wish they would bring back the 24-hour stream because that was just unbelievable. But I mean, 8 a.m. can't beat that.
You can't beat that. I didn't even know that game was going on. So here we are. All right, we got a lot of Monday Night Football. If you have Monday Night Football questions, whether they game or prop related, please let us know. I'll remind everybody we'll be on CBS Sports Network today at 12, also breaking down Monday Night Football and a little bit of college football as well. But let's get started with some picks. Mike, we're probably going to maybe a first quarter or first half play coming from you.
Yeah, first half play, a lot of it's going to be carried by that Dallas Cowboys defense. I'm going to go over 12.5. Once again, touchdown and 2 field goals. So different than scoring 13 or having to go over 13, looking for a 14th point. So ultimately here, just Cardinals first half over 12.5. Quarterback situation, I think, is potentially an upgrade against this particular defense. I expect some pretty heavy throwing volume. But it really just comes down to the environment. We're talking about a dome, indoors, controlled environments, looking for that touchdown and 2 field goals. And it's really just a play we've made consistently this year, Sia. Anytime you're offered that kind of a line, generally we are playing it on a team that is favored. However, the Cowboys defense and just the way that these games tend to go here, that has me interested on the Arizona side. You've still got a decent number of skill position players in there. And again, when I look at Brissett in terms of the passing game, I think that it's just a high variance attack, and that's what I want in these situations. So I'm going to go over 12.5 again, looking for that touchdown and 2 field goals to get us home.
All right. We got the Cardinals first half team total. Proppy, I want to go to you on something that Mike said about Jacoby Brissett and potentially the upgrade over Kyler Murray. Real quick, though, we've got Danny Brasco and Buckets in the chat. They've both bashed the like button, or so they've claimed. But Bucket says taking BTTS live in the Greece Super League game with OFI. I don't know what OFI is, but if anybody can decode what Buckets just said, he's taking a live play on the early edge, and those have been hitting like actually every time. So I probably just jinxed it. Let's go to you real quick before we get to Bob's. We're going to go to Bob's college basketball pick, and then we're going to get right back to football. PropStarz, I remember on our prop show, it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, when we weren't sure if Jacoby Brissett or Kyler Murray were going to play. And I had a Marvin Harrison over. It was like over something really low, like 43.5 yards, something like that. And he unfortunately got a concussion in that game, like early in the second quarter. He was going to easily cover it. But when we were doing the show, I said, I don't think this is a downgrade at all to Jacoby Brissett. And I feel like that's what people are finding out. Do you agree with that sentiment, or am I overstating it?
No, I absolutely agree. If we look at EPA, he's been significantly better than Kyler Murray, who hasn't had a single top 12 performance as far as EPA this season. Jacoby Brissett has been very solid in both games, certainly proving to be one of the best backups in the NFL. I think the Cardinals offense functions better with him under center as well. One of the big knocks on Kyler Murray is because of his height. He's unable to really take advantage of the middle of the field. He really struggles throwing over the middle of the field. Not the case with Jacoby Brissett, who's looked really good. And this is a fantastic matchup against a Dallas defense. 32nd in EPA allowed per dropback, 31st in success rate against the pass. So this is a great matchup for Jacoby Brissett. And one guy, a veteran wide receiver, that has been emerging recently the last 2 weeks is Zay Jones. Love him to go over 18.5 receiving yards. Yes, I'd play this at 21.5 on some other books here. Zay Jones in the last 2 games since Brissett has been under center, 10 targets, 7 receptions for just shy of 150 yards. So he has definitely shown that he has some very good chemistry. This certainly looks like a cheap piece. I talk about this concept all the time when we have a game total of 53.5 points. Obviously projects to be high scoring, lots of offense, little defense here. Cowboys certainly capable of pushing Arizona as well. And Zay Jones is going to be on the field. PFF has a matchup tool as well based on the sort of coverages that the Cowboys run. Not only does Zay Jones have the best grade of any wide receiver in this game, he actually has the best grade of any wide receiver this week. So considering, again, it's just a minuscule total of around 20 yards, I think this is a great spot to get a cheap piece on Zay Jones.
I feel like the early edge has been talking about Zay Jones for like 5 years as just a guy like here and there. as a guy who's a very reliable target. And we saw in that game where Marvin Harrison went out, Zay Jones, and granted, that was a game where Marvin Harrison wasn't playing, but Zay Jones was a huge target for Jacoby Brissett. So I think there is absolutely a connection there. Again, we'll take all your prop questions, or maybe they're questions off of what Proppy just said about Zay Jones. So let us know what your questions are. But Bob, I'm going to go right to you. I want to get to some college basketball. We're taking South Dakota.
Yeah, we are taking South Dakota. And if anyone was watching, just saw the end of that Queens game, that was a brutal if you had Queens plus 5.5 or 6. But anyway, yeah, we're going to head to the game that everybody wants to hear about, Utah Tech and South Dakota. It's crazy that John Junkins has been at Utah Tech. This is 21st year, and this is his final year before they leave the WAC to go to the Big Sky. Last year, the Trailblazers, they lost their leading scorer. They only bring back a few guys, one being a redshirt center named Samuel, who only averaged 8 points per game. Yes, they did add some new players through the transfer portal because their defense was one of the worst in the country last year, allowing 76 points per game. Also last season, Utah Tech did not win a single game on the road. So they have all new players this year, barely any production returning. This could be another tough season for Utah Tech. South Dakota, on the other hand, they were 14-2 straight up at home. They bring back an experienced team. They were third in the nation in scoring with 85.2 a game. They return Isaac Burns and Chase Forte, who combined for 25 points per game last year. The Coyotes play very fast. We should see more of that to start this season with all their production backs, especially down low as well. However, similar to Utah Tech, defense was a massive problem for South Dakota. Despite averaging 85 a game offensively, they allowed 83 a game defensively. And head coach Eric Peterson went to the transfer portal, got some size. He has an experienced rotation, and he made a big emphasis on addressing the defensive side of the ball this year. But with not any production at all for Utah Tech, and with a great home court advantage for the Coyotes, -2.5 is very doable for how fast they play.
All right, we're taking South Dakota -2.5 at -110. PropStarz, I feel like I might have cut you off a little bit, and so I do want to go back to football before we get to even more picks on this Monday night game. What did you have?
Just wanted to talk about another matchup in this game. Really interesting. I took a close look at obviously all the props, but Trey McBride has really come on even stronger with Brissett. They have a tremendous connection. He's being heavily targeted. And as bad as this Cowboys defense is, and they've been absolutely putrid, the one area that they've been effective, and I don't think this is a mistake or an oversight, it's actually been covering tight ends. So at 70 yards, I just think this number is a little bit high. I know I'm not making this a play, but I do think that is a big number for Trey McBride in what is a more difficult matchup than it appears at first glance.
All right. Any thoughts on Marvin Harrison, PropStarz? Because that was a number I was considering. Actually, Larry, let me go to you on that because you just had your hand up. He's in that mid-50s range. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was something I was considering, but I just don't think I can count on consistencies from Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, you can't count on him to be consistent, but if there was ever a week where Marvin Harrison is going to show up, this is the one, with Trayvon Diggs still out with the concussion that was suffered, at home in a home accident. Both starting safeties are out. The third safety is out. The fourth safety is questionable. They have a 7th-round rookie, Triquez Bridges, playing corner. He was drafted by the Chargers and cut. The Cowboys pick him up. The Broncos absolutely torched him last week for a couple of touchdowns. He has great size. He has great physical skills, but not there yet. You can attack him. You can attack Kyer Elam. Deron Bland, probably the only strong point in that secondary. So if Marvin Harrison doesn't get it going tonight, I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Proppy.
Just a concern with Marvin Harrison, and he's just been an afterthought. If you look at his first read target rate, the Cardinals are not designing plays really for Marvin Harrison. They build the plane out for Trey McBride, but Harrison has a very small role that seems to be decreasing as the season progresses, and which is why they're kind of just using him vertically. They're not really using him over the short and intermediate parts of the field. He's just kind of been an outside receiver, and his target floor is very low. And the Cardinals do not seem to be putting an emphasis on getting him more targets, which is certainly concerning, considering his draft pedigree and the sort of talent and name recognition that Marvin Harrison Jr. has.
Yeah, it sounds like the volume is a big unknown, but perhaps the longest reception might be a play for Marvin Harrison. Just throwing that out there. And maybe that longest reception is the first touchdown. We're going to get to our first touchdown picks, but I got to tell you, BetMGM is going to give you your stake back if your first touchdown score scores second instead. Bet any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game tonight, and if you're right, you win. But if your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash only at BetMGM. Still, again, more football, but we got to get to the SportsLine picks. And speaking of SportsLine picks, Ben, you had your oh, okay. I was going to say you had your Vanderbilt pick on there. That was a loss. That looked like it was coming in. I was about to give you a shout out, and then I realized sorry for bringing that up. I realized it got crushed late. Julius Randle over 24.5 points, -117. That one from Mikey B. And we got Eastern Washington, UCLA over 146.5. That one courtesy of Bruce Marshall. It's -110. You can expect a lot of college basketball and NBA the rest of the way on this show. So I'm very excited about that. And we still got more picks. I got my pick. Larry, you've got your pick. We've got all the picks and questions coming from the Early Edge family. That's going to come up right after this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Silas Searcy is in here. He says, happy Monday, y'all. We love those vibes. Gippers Picks is in here. Steve Folkerts, Nicholas Brown, J Rill. Numbers Edge is dishing out. That's Mike McClure, of course, dishing out knowledge in the chat as well. Jesse B, thanks for being in here. We'll get to your questions in a second. Larry, I want to get to your pick, but let me give mine real quick. People aren't going to like this, and if you don't like it, you don't have to bet it. I'm just going to put it out there. Nobody wants to watch Dak Prescott and say, hey, I'd really like to watch this isolated game and bet on Dak Prescott unders. I think his yardage could go over, but I think this 25.5 completions number, you all know, Larry, you're one of these people too that likes to look at completions and attempts. 25.5 is an absurdly high number. Now, it's there for a reason. It's a great matchup, and Arizona likes to funnel stuff kind of underneath. They don't like to give up the big play. That doesn't mean they're not going to give up the big play, oh, by the way, and that's sort of what I'm hoping for with this completions prop. I'm hoping we get a couple of big shots to a George Pickens or a CeeDee Lamb, which will really help this under 25.5 completions. But you all know that these completions props are usually in the 21, 22.5 range in Pat Mahomes' case, like yesterday, it was in the 23.5 range, and that's what you usually see from somebody like Patrick Mahomes. But 25.5 is an extremely high number. Frankly, you're not even going to ever really see a 26.5, in my opinion. With all of that said, Arizona coming off a bye, I could see, while Dak has been very efficient and quarterbacks have been very efficient against Arizona, I could see Arizona maybe mixing some things up and giving Dak at least a little bit of trouble to get that efficiency down just enough for Dak to be at 23 completions, or maybe even something as low as 22 completions. So I'm going to take the under 25.5 completions. Yes, I think he's going to be efficient, but I don't think he's going to be so efficient that he's going to be clicking at like 75% against this Arizona defense. So give me Dak Prescott under 25.5 completions. Proppy, before we get to Larry's pick, I want to go to you here, because even though you don't take these props a lot, you know just as well as anyone, 25.5 is a huge number. When I saw this, immediately I thought, okay, this is more of a principal play than it is anything else, because this is such a high number. With all that said, that's not a great reason, right? I found some other reasons to take this. What are your thoughts on this number?
Yeah, I think it's a huge number. The moment I saw it, I thought it was a good look as well. Something that was an oversight on my behalf. I like this play quite a bit, Sia. Definitely think it's a high number. Definitely think Dallas can be balanced in this matchup as well. I look at the Cardinals versus the Cowboys run defense. It has been porous too. So a lot. They have to really push Dallas, and Dallas has to be pretty pass heavy for him to eclipse such a high number here. So I like this look a lot.
Yeah, pass heavy and very efficient. Larry, you had something here as well. And I do want to point out that if you look at Dak's overall volume starting from week 1, you're going to see that, okay, this is very attainable. But the last 4 games or so, it's been a little different for the Cowboys from a volume standpoint. Some of that is game script related, but just wanted to point that out. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, the Cardinals defense is definitely underperformed, but they could get two key guys back tonight. One is their nickel corner, Garrett Williams, who's been on IR, but his window's been open. He could go. They were 2-0 with him in the lineup. He's very important. And then Walter Nolan, their first-round pick on the defensive line, has been looking great in practice. He has not even made his debut yet. So there's a chance both of those guys play tonight, which could help Arizona and also help your prop.
All right, Larry, I want to get to your play. We got to get some questions. Feel free to put your questions in the chat. But I want to give Lydia a shout out. Lydia's going to the parade today. Huge Dodgers fan. Hand up. Who wants to try to capture what we saw Friday night? Larry, is it you? Mike, is it you? I feel like we can't do an entire 30, 40-minute show and at least not address what we saw Friday night. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. Larry, any thoughts?
I mean, it was a classic. It was a thriller. The catch, where they collide in the outfield. I disagree with the sacrifice bunt that the Blue Jays did, giving up and out in that situation. But a classic finish. I mean, but what are we celebrating? Celebrating you have the biggest wallet. You spent, $1 billion on Shohei and Yamamoto. I mean, is that what we're celebrating?
I mean, I'm with you on that sentiment. Mike, any thoughts here?
Yeah, look, it's easy to get caught up in the moment because we just saw it, but I really do believe it was one of the best World Series collectively that we've seen in a long time. And props to the Blue Jays. Like Larry, I do not agree with bunting. I essentially never agree with bunting. The math will certainly tell you that bunting is never the move in that particular spot. So, there was a great effort from the Blue Jays. Excellent series. And that's what you get when you go 7 games. The more talented team ultimately should win out, and they unfortunately for some people, and not fortunately for others, they did. Do I like that they get to spend as much money as they want? I don't, but that's not a them problem. That is a Major League Baseball problem.
Yeah.
That it's like getting mad at someone that's successful in trading in markets, right? Like it's the system, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to hate the Dodgers for it. I love seeing what they're able to do, and heck of a season, heck of a series. Again, one of the best that we've seen in a long time.
Proppy, go ahead. But before you go, Scott Edwards says, is Jordan Love the new Trevor Lawrence? I love that. That's the bottom point we're comparing now on the early edge. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but there was a time that I was really down on Jordan Love as well. We'll see what happens there. Proppy, go ahead.
I'm still reeling from the 1993 Joe Carter walk-off home run. So a little bit of, revenge as a Phillies fan considering, but great season for Toronto.
Still reeling. Bob, are you a baseball guy? Did you catch that World Series? I mean, were you watching Game 7?
I was watching Game 7. It was a great season for me, pretty decent for me for the site. And everything everyone said, I totally agree with. Game 7, I can't remember one better. I mean, every pitch I was on the pins of my seats, and I had no skin in the game.
Yeah, I ended up having to play. Thanks to the early edge chat Friday, somebody said, if you like the Dodgers for Game 6, why don't you just take them plus 200 to win the series? And Amags was talking about that. I ended up taking that bet. It ended up coming in, but it was a little bittersweet. I kind of was rooting for Toronto there. All right, Larry, go ahead. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, just real quick. I love how everybody bashes me for being a Yankees fan when the Dodgers just did this back-to-back with paying out their pockets. The Yankees have not been relevant for they haven't won since 2009. So I just wanted to throw that out there, be like, Yankees fans, we haven't done anything. So I think the Dodgers are the new Yankees.
I think that's totally fair. Larry, talk to me about the Yankees, I feel like are comparable. It's a good baseball comp to the Dallas Cowboys. So let's go back to football. Give me the Cardinals plus the points, right?
Yeah, I took the 3.5. I'm very disappointed in the Cardinals 2-5. I was very high on them this year. If you look at their 5-game losing streak, 13 points is all that has separated them. And you look at the Packers, the Colts, the Seahawks, the 49ers. Those are 4 good teams they lost to. Now, they also lost to the Titans, but they were going up 28-6 in that game when DeMarcado drops the ball at the goal line. So this is a team that has led in the fourth quarter 5 straight weeks. And now you're playing the worst defense, an everything funnel, as somebody put it in the internet. you could do whatever you want. And with Jacoby Brissett, I think they will be able to do enough to keep up with Dallas and make this competitive, and getting the extra hook on a team that needed a bye after all those bitter, tough losses. This can be a reset for them. And I don't know if they're going to win outright, but I just see this being a very close game. Even if we're down double digits late, we can get through the back door with Jacoby Brissett.
Mike, do you have any thoughts about Jacoby Brissett in this game? I mean, because it does feel like it's a close enough spread and Jacoby Brissett's a good enough quarterback to have a really good game. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I like Brissett. Again, I don't think it's much of a downgrade, if anything. And I like the system that they're going to play. I like that it's for Brissett. When I get to him at this point in his career, I definitely want him indoors in controlled environment. I think that definitely helps a lot. I think the interesting thing here is you're seeing 3s and 3.5s. When you get to 3, just where the market's got these two teams, this game is in Dallas, right? So, home field advantage, certainly not worth 3 points, 1.5 to 2 maybe, but essentially implying the Cowboys are less than 2 points better than them on a neutral field with a backup quarterback in is very, very strong statement really on the side of Arizona. And I tend to agree with it. I actually had the number just under 3 myself. So yeah, I like Brissett here.
And Larry, to your point about just this game in general, I mean, it does feel like Arizona's given up some games late. They've played like the first 3 quarters of almost every game. They've played really good football, and then they just kind of sink. And you figure like, yeah, some of that's coaching and some of that's bad play, but a lot of that is just variance, just things bouncing the wrong way for the Cardinals. So, I mean, the 3.5, I particularly like. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, and they're down their top 2 running backs, which is a big deal when you don't have, Trey Benson and James Conner. But I did want to touch on what's happened in the prop market with the running backs of Arizona, because you've got Bam Knight, you've got DeMercado, and they're supposedly going to elevate Michael Carter right before the game to have a third running back. And Jonathan Gannon came out and said Knight will be the first one in there, and his prop was up near 60 rushing yards. He was decent against the Packers. I think he went 14 for about 60 yards. He's not spectacular at all, but he'll get what's blocked. And then the reports came out that Michael Carter took the first team reps on Thursday and Friday, and now his prop, Bam Knight's prop, dropped all the way down to the high 40s and the low 50s. So there is a lot of confusion over what we're going to see out of those running backs. I think it's likely going to be a legit 3-way split.
I got burned PropStarz on Tyrone Tracy. I went not 2 for 2. I went 2 for 4 on our NFL prop show. One of my the 2 I lost were Daniel Jones over 1.5 touchdown passes, which I'm still kind of shocked didn't come in. But Tyrone Tracy, I just made the wrong call. I thought he'd get some carries. Do you tend to, when there's a bit of a mix-up, do you tend, at the running back position in this case, do you tend to just stay away from this, or do you try to read the tea leaves and spike something? Because I'm looking at Bam Knight's rushing attempts prop, which is usually a pretty good indicator for me. And it's still as high as 11.5. And it's a 48.5, 49.5 rushing yard total. But with all that said, there still seems to be enough confusion where I probably want to stay away.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really knows. I think 11.5 is sort of like the default by the books, essentially a guy who's in a timeshare. If you have 2 backs that you're utilizing almost equally, both their lines will be 11.5. So I don't think odds makers are really giving any indication they think either. So I think, yeah, at this point, just without the lineup clarity, it's stay away for me. Usually, unless I have some inside information or have been watching the team extremely closely and sort of, again, seeing someone emerge, but not the case with this situation. I don't think any of those backs are particularly talented. So I do think it'll just maybe be a hot hand approach, or if Bam Knight does not look good early, he could end up riding pine in the second half.
I'll note that Javonte Williams rushing attempt prop, and this kind of correlates a little bit to my under pass completions. It was 14.5 with some 15.5s last night. It's now 15.5 across the board. Granted, that's still shaded to the under, but it is ticking up a little bit. So we might see a little bit more Javonte Williams work than maybe people expect without how prolific this passing game could be, which could help the under completions, but maybe help the under as well. Mike, did your model have anything related to the total, which has gone from 51.5 to 53, settling in that range?
Yeah, I've got it right at 52.5. Not something that I would even remotely consider playing one way or the other in this game. So I'll be off of that.
Larry, Jen M says, I need someone to talk me out of playing Greg Dortch anytime touchdown at plus 650. And Jacob Couture says, Zay Jones, anytime touchdown plus 450. Anything you want to speculate on there, Larry?
I mean, there's so many pass catchers that could have a good game tonight, because this is the dream scenario. You know, the Cowboys, they've put up, I believe they put up 40 in every home game so far, and the lowest total in their home games is 66. They've had a game go to 77. They had a game go to 80. So this is the ultimate environment for all those guys. I think it's Marvin Harrison tonight. I think this is a matchup he's going to take advantage of, especially if he gets Triquez Bridges.
Larry, sticking with you, Eric David wants to know, any thoughts on Arizona team total over 24.5 full game? And then, Mike, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yeah, I like it. RJ White, I know, likes it on the site. I do think that Brissett has shown, just put up mid-20s, mid to high 20s against the Colts and the Packers. He can do it against the Cowboys.
Mike, any thoughts?
I would not play the under. 24 is just such a key number on a team total that I think, again, many paths, I say this a lot, many paths to them covering the spread at 24, winning the game outright at 24. I have it right there. So I'm not going to go over it on that one. I think it's pretty key, but there's certainly no scenario where I would be playing the under.
Bob, a couple college basketball questions. J-Real wants to know, and I think this is the game, the South Dakota game. He wants to know what you think about the total 161.5 at minus 104.
Yeah, I've been answering everybody in the chat. Taking Mike's words, I would not play the under. Defenses were so bad last year. Yes, it's a new season, but with just how Utah Tech was last year with all their new rotations and players, I would over or nothing for me in South Dakota, Utah Tech.
It's November 3rd, and we're talking about Utah Tech rotations only on the early edge. Jeff Stenberg wants to know, and you might have answered this in the chat, but for the audio listeners, Florida minus 2.5, minus 110 over Arizona. He says, is that the greatest bet on the board today with 3 question marks?
Well, he was already upset with me because I'm a Yankees fan, but I think I won him over. However, I do lean Arizona simply because Florida has a new backcourt. They got Boogie Flan from Arkansas. Then they got a Princeton kid. They do have the most dominant front court in the country by far. Maybe that and Houston, but I would like to see how the backcourt looks. Do I really like Boogie Flan? No, but he was injured all last year. He does have the offensive power to help this offense even more. But I'm just going to watch this game. This game's going to be fun, but I do lean Arizona.
Bob, you're ready. I mean, it's day one. Yeah, you're ready. Hofstra UCF. I can't imagine you have something on this. Over 140.5 at minus 112.
I said over just with the pace of play that Central Florida will want to play. I know Hofstra, they can put up points. They put up points last year. They're typically more a defensive school, but I think if anything, UCF is gonna push the ball a little bit more, and I think that could go over the total. Yeah, I am cooking Stephen Cook. This is my Christmas. I love it.
This is awesome. I'm so glad you're on the show here, Bob. You cover so much, but the fact that you're this prepared for college basketball is really, really good. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, now in honor of college basketball opening night, Tom Casale will be in the Discord at 3 o'clock doing an expert chat, going into detail on Florida, Arizona, and all the matchups. It's a great first day of basketball. And an hour prior, we will have PropStarz in there at 2 p.m. Eastern, looking at Monday Night Football and anything else on his mind.
I have one more quick one for everybody.
Sure.
Rock Hill, South Carolina. I really wanted to do this. I was in between this one and South Dakota. Northern Arizona. I lean Northern Arizona plus 9.5 against Drake. Drake lost their head coach. That he went to Iowa. Bennett Sturts went to Iowa. Completely new roster. Northern Arizona, they should be one of the best teams in their conference. A lot of experience. They love to shoot the three. I think it's a lot of points for a neutral court game with a brand new Drake team. I do like, maybe I'll get there. I think that's at 4 o'clock on YouTube. I like Northern Arizona plus 9.5. Oh, I could actually see what the current number is. When I looked at it before the show, it was 9.5, but that's another play I do like.
That's awesome. This is just great stuff. Let's go back to football real quick. We still have some first touchdown scores to give out. Proppy, Zay Jones 2+ receptions is minus 130, and as long as the reception is 12.5. Your thoughts?
I'd rather just play his yards outright over the receptions, considering the juice there. And essentially, if he's under 21.5, I'd rather just play the yards.
I'm sure you're not prepared for this, Proppy, but Jay Rill says, what do you think about AJ Green over 2.5 threes at plus 118? Any thoughts?
No thoughts.
Okay. Giuseppe Maricino says, any thoughts on Turpin's props? His over-under for receiving yards is 15.5 at minus 110. Larry, any thoughts on Kevontae Turpin?
I hate to be repetitive, but no thoughts. I have not looked at Turpin yet.
Yeah. Turpin's the type of guy for me that I would, and we'll go to first touchdown scores next. He's the type of guy for me that I'd like to just not play the receptions and just play a high end of a ladder, because you're hoping he takes a wide receiver screen or a deep ball. He just gets lost in the shuffle, and take him 40 plus or 50 plus, maybe pepper in a touchdown and just try to hit something big. I just don't think I would touch his actual legit receiving yards over under personally. Let's get to some first touchdown scores. Let's see. Jake Ferguson is a popular one. I've got him, but Proppy, you have him as well.
Yeah, Jake Ferguson is one of the premier red zone weapons in the NFL. Routinely, since he's entered the league or really had Dak Prescott under center, leads all players, not just tight ends, and red zone targets. Has a massive market share as far as the Dak's red zone targets are concerned. So anytime he's on the field, he's a massive threat to score not one, but 2 touchdowns, even 3, especially if we're looking at a game with this sort of environment. So love getting him close to around 9 or 10 to 1. So give me all the Jake Ferguson.
I'm in on Jake Ferguson. This just seems like such a good setup and defense to get. I mean, Jake Ferguson had 0 catches last week. I actually considered his over yardage. I think it was in the upper 30s, like 39.5 receiving yards, something in that range. I still consider it his depth of target is really low, so maybe it's more a receptions thing for him. I ended up staying away. Danny Brasco says Turpin, first touchdown plus 2,800. Nikesh says Luke Schoonmaker, first touchdown. Always love the backup tight end stuff. Marvin Harrison says Larry Hartstein.
Yeah, he struggles against good corners, but the Cowboys really only have Deron Bland. I mean, Triquez Bridges had an interception against the Broncos, and then he gave up 2 touchdowns on his next 12 targets. So this is a guy that can be taken advantage of. Kyer Elam is another guy that Marvin Harrison can take advantage of, using his size and boxing him out. So I think he gets his 3rd touchdown tonight, and I hope it's the first one.
I'm starting to warm up to Marvin Harrison having a decent game tonight in this type of game environment. Mike McClure, we're going to Trey McBride.
Yeah, Trey McBride coming off the bye for the team, playing indoors. Love all those things. But how about 24 targets and 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games with Jacoby Brissett? Look, are they the team that's most likely to score? No, that's why we're catching the number that we are here, in my opinion. If they do, though, I like the spot for Trey McBride. I love the chemistry he's got with Brissett. I love Brissett's just ability to rely on him, willingness to rely on him. Again, 24 targets. It's essentially wide receiver 1 in the NFL in terms of target share. Give me that guy to score the first touchdown.
And Bob, we're going for RB1 for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, Javonte Williams, a little chalky, but according to our friends at BetMGM, he has his hit rate has 25%. He's got touchdowns in all but 2 games this season. Also has 2 games with 2 touchdowns as well. At home, he's averaging 99 yards through 3 games and scored a touchdown in all 3 of them. The Cardinals do allow 110 rushing yards on the road, and the Cowboys do have the ability to make big plays, stretch the fields with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And I know that the Arizona corners are out, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a first deep shot touchdown. But if they do, their offense is so powerful they could shoot it down the field and then let Javonte Williams take it from there in the red zone.
All right. I think that'll do it. Hand up, anybody that has any questions from the chat that we need to address or any scheduling stuff. Again, we've got the 12 o'clock show on CBS Sports Network. It'll later be put on this SportsLine YouTube channel where we're going to be diving even deeper into Monday Night Football. Mike's going to be on that. Larry's going to be on that as well. And we've got a lot to cover there. But anybody else, any questions that I missed? Bob, Mike, Larry, Proppy? I don't think so. Go ahead, Larry.
I mean, I think we should get out of here because we're taking some heat in the chat for already running as long as we have, So we have people in here watching but saying get off the air. So, maybe it's time.
Is that true?
I saw a comment, but it's entertaining. I enjoy it.
I mean, okay. you don't have to stay if you think the show is going too long. I mean, the truth is,
I didn't want to say that.
No, it's fine. The truth is, I want to get to everybody's questions too. That's why we go a little bit longer on Mondays and Thursdays. So if you have questions, Zach says stay on the air. If you have questions, we're willing to answer them. I mean, Bob just rattled off like 4 college basketball games that people otherwise might not have even known about. So
yeah, I'm looking for an outright dog. Jeff Stenberg wants me to find an outright dog, and this the first 100 games today, there's so much variability and stuff. I can't really pick an outright dog just yet. I mean, and some of the lines, like you could take advantage of some of the bigger lines, but an outright dog, I would say Arizona, but I don't know. He won't like that.
Vic says we're being held hostage. Like you cannot turn the channel. You have to stay on here. A lot of people are saying they want a 1-hour show. Proppy, go ahead.
This is a vintage NFC football game here. The Cardinals used to be, all of us old people will recall, the Cardinals used to be members of the NFC East. They actually have a really interesting historical rivalry, the Cowboys and the Cardinals. We know Jake Plummer's Cardinals kind of ended the Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin era, beat them on Thanksgiving, if I'm not mistaken, back in 1994. But Emmitt Smith also ended his career playing in the desert. So interesting crossover in history between these two teams.
I'm trying to remember some of those old Arizona Cardinals and I'm just
they
forgetting
beat the Cowboys twice on Thanksgiving.
We got a lot of hockey picks in here. We'll try to bring a hockey pick tomorrow, if not a hockey capper tomorrow on the show. But Glenn Calavis says Oilers money line. We had some other hockey picks as well. And I know Scott Davis did really well in the chat as well. So if you want some hockey picks, at least for today, maybe you follow him. Of course, we'll have some on SportsLine as well later. All right. Let's get to the recap screen. As pretty much 99% of this audience says, the longer the show, the better, as the comments continue to come pouring in. I've got Dak Prescott under 25.5 completions at -103. We're going to the Cardinals +3.5, -115. That one from Larry Hartstein. And Mike McClure says Cardinals first half team total over 12.5 at -125. Zay Jones over 18.5 receiving yards, -110 from PropStarz. And South Dakota -2.5, -110 from Bob. And Bob has a lot of other picks from the pendency of this show, so make sure you go back and check those out. Julius Randle over 24.5 points, -117 from Mikey B. Eastern Washington, UCLA over 146.5 at -110. That one from Bruce Marshall. First touchdown picks. 2 of us on Jake Ferguson. That's me and Proppy. Marvin Harrison Jr. from Larry. Trey McBride from Mike McClure and Bob Konarski. Javonte Williams +500. What a great show. We got a lot of people in the chat. Love everybody being in here, hitting the like button, but more importantly, participating in this chat. I'm so sorry we went 42 minutes, but hopefully you enjoyed the show. We'll see you maybe on CBS Sports Network at 12 o'clock, and we'll see you here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, big thank you to Larry, Proppy, Bob, Mike, and of course, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. We had Danny Brasco in the chat. We had Buckets in the chat as well. Hopefully that live bet hits. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, we rest our case.